Hurricanes. If you didn't know any differently, they'd seem at the beginning like any other storm. And that's the deceptive part. The devastation, the flooding, the loss of life, the imprint of the loss of heartfelt memories, all occur after the storm has passed.
The latest technology gives us the opportunity to be prepared way in advance of impending danger, and yet we wait. Or worse yet, we decide to stay. We risk so much when the effects of these devastating events could be so easily diminished if we had only listened. As the storm approaches, it very quickly becomes too late to gather the important possessions and memories, too late to batten down the hatches, too late to protect our property or sometimes our very lives. With the aftermath of Katrina, I can assure you I have changed my game plan for the next Katrina, and I hope you have or will change yours. My name is Doug Hoffman, the Executive Director of NORMI, the National Organization of Remediators and Mold Inspectors. We train mold professionals to assess, evaluate, and solve the problems associated with water events, both major and minor, as those events result in mold damage to property, and in conjunction with the NORMI Pro Environmental Task Force are ready to help when disaster hits. Check our resources at normi.org and normiproetf.org for current ways you can help yourself and others when disaster hits. Sometimes an event is so horrific that it results in massive flooding and wind damage. We lived through Hurricane Katrina right here in Louisiana and have been privileged to help hundreds, maybe thousands of Katrina victims rebuild their lives after one of the most devastating natural events ever to hit the Gulf coasts of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. We learned some very important lessons, and we're hoping this short video will help you prepare for the next major event that may hit your community. With thermal imaging and from a satellite, the images are staggeringly beautiful, but closer to Earth, in the midst of the rampage, frightening doesn't begin to tell the story. Being prepared for what might be coming and then managing the recovery will help you keep your mind on the important task ahead. The unpredictable nature of the season simply requires it. The dates of the North American hurricane season span from June 1st to November 30th. By no means will these dates prevent the forming or sustaining of a tropical event in the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean Sea, or the Pacific, but these dates are a guide or a timeline based on previous storms over the last century. Dropping your guard or dismissing weather events outside of these dates could result in being caught off guard for an approaching storm. But these dates, in particular, are a time to be specially aware of the news and weather reports. 26 named storms churned in the Atlantic in 2005, and many of them hit land. Following their paths shows the unpredictable nature of nature. Because of the fickle nature and path of many tropical storms, a large part of the general population hesitates or fails to take precautions until the last minute. In the year 2005, an unprecedented number of named storms developed in the eastern and Gulf Coast, exceeding even the English alphabet, and many of those storms made landfall. And when that occurs, especially in densely populated areas, the results are mass evacuations, highway gridlock, and supply shortages. In simple terms, everyone that waited until the last minute is scrambling to prepare or leave. The following information is provided as part of the Community Awareness Program, CAP, from NORMI, the National Organization of Remediators and Mold Inspectors. Additional CAP programs can be found at normi.org or at flood.normi.org and include Realtors Awareness, First Responders Awareness, and other information targeted to specific groups. These are presented in an effort to fulfill our mission and fill a void in accurate and timely trainings. How often have you seen news reports about the long lines at hardware stores where residents of areas prone to tropical events are waiting in lines for hours to purchase plywood or other needed supplies? The general rule of thumb is if you find yourself in this situation, waiting in line to take your turn, you may have waited too long. Our goal at Normie is to provide you with general preparation and safety information for your time before, during, and after the event. Let's get started, and please feel free to take notes or revisit this video often. Sometimes a reminder can be very timely. So let's get started. Plan to be prepared before the event. Know how and where to get emergency information from your local emergency management offices. Follow instructions for evacuations if you are advised to leave, and leave. Understand that if you do not evacuate or find yourself in a situation where you need emergency assistance during the event, you may be on your own until the event has passed. Emergency services will also be stretched beyond normal capacity, and assistance may be days or weeks away. Remember that people that choose not to evacuate when instructed to do so are either victims or survivors. Neither title is as a result of good planning. When you do evacuate, if you have carefully planned your evacuation route well in advance of the evacuation and you know where you will be staying, life will be much easier while you are displaced. So if you are not prepared to fend for yourself for an extended period of time, consider relocating prior to the event. If you have the time, tidy up the house, wash and put away the dishes, clean the coffee pot. When you return, you'll feel better about this kind of detailed planning in advance and appreciate the preparation you've made for your return. And of course, traveling during the event is not advisable in most cases. Some of the following information are recommendations from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And they suggest, before the storm, make plans to secure your property. Permanent storm shutters offer the best protection for windows. A second option is to board up those windows with 5/8 marine plywood, cut to fit and ready to install. Tape does not prevent windows from breaking. Install straps or additional clips to securely fasten your roof to the frame structure. This will reduce roof damage. Be sure trees and shrubs around your home are well trimmed. Charge your cellular phone and refill your meds. Clear the gutters and downspouts of any extra debris that could become airborne. Secure your boat. Consider a safe room, a place where you will not be hurt by broken glass or structural damage. Take your outdoor furniture and put it indoors. Get evacuation information, which is readily available, and get a local shelters list. Where can you go if you need to? If you can't get out quickly enough or you get stranded because of traffic, where can you go? In regards to evacuation guidelines, there are really just two categories: what you should always do and what you could do if time permits. As my dad used to say, if you prepare for time to permit, it will. This list gives you these two priorities to consider. Always keep a full tank of gas in your car if an evacuation seems likely. Gas stations may be closed during emergencies and unable to pump gas during power outages. Plan to take one car per family to reduce congestion and delay. If time permits, gather disaster supplies and put them in a kit stored in your home. Always make transportation arrangements with friends or local government if you do not own a car. If time permits, make sure you've got sturdy shoes and clothing that provide some protection, such as long pants, long-sleeved shirts, and a cap. Always listen to battery-operated radio and follow local evacuation instructions. And if time permits, let others know where you're going. Always gather your family and go if you are instructed to evacuate immediately. Knowing your family is safe will give you a great peace of mind during the uncertainty of the events that might follow the storm. If time permits, secure your home. Close and lock the doors and windows. Unplug electrical equipment such as radios and televisions and small appliances such as toasters, microwaves. Leave freezers and refrigerators plugged in, or if time permits, empty them so that there'll be no risk of damage being done to those freezers or refrigerators. You should take some precautions on your way out. Leave early enough to avoid being trapped by severe weather. Plan to then follow recommended evacuation routes. Do not take shortcuts. They may be blocked. Be alert for washed out roads and bridges. Do not drive into flooded areas. And stay away from downed power lines. And of course the question always arises, when should we evacuate? Well, you should evacuate under the following conditions. First, if you are directed by local authorities to do so, be sure to follow their instructions. If you live in a mobile home or temporary structure, such shelters are particularly hazardous during hurricanes, no matter how well fastened they may be to the ground. A Cat 4 hurricane can remove the entire roof of a commercial structure, so what do you think it could do to something as light as a mobile home? And of course you've always got the added concern of tornadoes. If you live in a high-rise building, you should evacuate. Hurricane winds are stronger at higher elevations, so your safety might be jeopardized if you decide to stay. If you live on the coast or on a floodplain, near a river, or on an inland waterway, flooding might be the biggest concern because a storm surge of some kind always precedes a hurricane. The Gulf Coast of Louisiana and Mississippi experienced anywhere from 15 to 40-foot surges, enough to totally wipe out the coastline for several miles back into the non-water frontland. If you feel you're in danger, you should leave. And if you have health issues that might need emergency or regular attention, you should go to a place where your concerns can be addressed readily. So what if you decide to stay? Well, you definitely want to listen to the radio or TV for information, so be sure to have plenty of batteries for both. Secure your home. Close the storm shutters, secure outdoor objects, and bring them indoors. Turn off the utilities, if instructed to do so. Otherwise, turn the refrigerator thermostat to the coldest setting and keep the doors closed. This will ensure the preservation of frozen foods for some time following the storm should power not be restored for a long period of time. Well, frozen foods could last for a couple of days in the freezer, even without power. Turn off propane tanks. Avoid using the phone except for serious emergencies. Moor your boat if time permits. And store a supply of water for sanitary purposes such as cleaning and flushing toilets. Did you know that a toilet will flush simply by filling it with a gallon of water? After thoroughly cleaning it out, fill the bathtub and other large containers with water. If you're unable to evacuate, have you considered the possibility of creating a safe room? If you don't have one, follow these simple guidelines. Make sure that you stay indoors during the hurricane and away from windows and glass doors. Close all the interior doors besides securing and bracing exterior doors. Keep curtains and blinds closed. Don't be fooled if there is a lull. It could be the eye of the storm, and the high winds could pick up again. If necessary for your own safety or that of your family, take refuge in a small interior room, closet, or hallway on the lowest level, but where flooding won't be a concern. And if you sense tornadic activity, which often accompanies a hurricane, lie on the floor under a table or another sturdy object. We have incredible technologies that give us advanced warning, tell us the intensity of what we might be facing, and track the storm from its inception to its end. What makes us think we can weather the storm? But we often try. The following are the basic emergency kits and supplies recommended by FEMA. Basic disaster supplies should be stocked in preparation for what may occur during and after a flood, hurricane, or other water event. Let's take a moment to simply list the 6 basic items, and then we'll talk about each one of them in a little bit of detail. This checklist will serve as a great starting place to be sure you are prepared. There are 6 basics you should stock in your home: water, food, first aid supplies, clothing, bedding, and sanitation supplies, tools, and specialty items. And keep the items that you would most likely need during an evacuation in an easy-to-carry container. Possible containers could include a large covered trash container, or a camping backpack, or even a duffel bag. First, water. How much water do I need? You should have at least a 3-day supply of water, and you should store at least 1 gallon of water per person per day. A normally active person needs at least 1/2 gallon of water daily just for drinking. Additionally, in determining adequate quantities, take the following into account. Individual needs vary depending on age, physical condition, activity, diet, and climate. Children, nursing mothers, and ill people need more water. Very hot temperatures can double the amount of water needed, and a medical emergency might require additional water. How should I store water? Well, to prepare safest and the most reliable emergency supply of water, it's recommended that you purchase commercially bottled water. Keep that bottled water in its original container and don't open it unless you need to use it. Observe any expiration or use by date. If you're preparing your own containers of water, it's recommended that you purchase food-grade water storage containers from surplus or camping supply stores to use for water storage. Before filling with water, thoroughly clean the containers with dishwashing soap and water and rinse completely so there is no residual soap. Follow the directions below on filling the container with water. If you choose to use your storage containers, choose 2-liter plastic soft drink bottles. Not plastic jugs or cardboard containers that have had milk or fruit juice in them. Milk protein and fruit sugars cannot be adequately removed from these containers and provide an environment for bacterial growth when water is stored in them. Cardboard containers also leak easily and are not designed for long-term storage of liquids. Also, don't use glass containers because they can break and they're heavy. If you're storing water in plastic soda bottles, follow these steps. Thoroughly clean the bottles with dishwashing soap and water. Rinse completely so there's no residual soap. Then sanitize those bottles by adding a solution of 1 teaspoon of non-scented liquid household chlorine bleach to a quart of water. Swish the sanitizing solution in the bottle so that it touches all surfaces, and then after sanitizing the bottle, thoroughly rinse out the sanitizing solution with clean water. Then you're ready to fill the bottles with water and seal them. Food. However you do it, you need a checklist. Put it in a magnetic clipboard attached to the side of your refrigerator, a post-it note on the inside of a kitchen cabinet, on your PDA or your phone app. But make a list now while you're calm and in your right mind. And remember these important points. Store at least a 3-day supply of non-perishable food. Select foods that require no refrigeration, preparation, or cooking, and little or no water. If you must heat food, pack a can of Sterno and matches. Select food items that are compact and lightweight. Avoid foods that will make you thirsty. Choose salt-free crackers, whole grain cereals, and canned foods with high liquid content. Be sure to include a manual can opener. That might come in very handy. And include a selection of the following foods in your disaster supply kit and put them in a waterproof container. Foods like ready-to-eat meats, fruits, and vegetables, canned fruits, juices, milk, soup, staples like sugar, salt, and pepper, high-energy foods like peanut butter, jelly, crackers, granola bars, trail mix, vitamins and minerals, foods for infants, the elderly, or special dietary needs. And don't forget comfort stress foods like cookies, hard candy, sweetened cereals, instant tea, or coffee. First aid supplies. First aid kits can be purchased, but some people prefer to make their own. So we've listed here 18 things that should be included so you could supplement a pre-packaged kit or develop your own. You'll need to decide which items you would want to include or exclude based on budget restraints, but even the seemingly least needed item could become extremely important in a life or death situation. Take the time to study this list, and we've provided a printable copy of this list as a resource at hurricane.normie.org website for your review. And a medical kit, again stored for safekeeping, could include the following items: aspirin or non-aspirin pain relievers, anti-diarrhea medication, an antacid for upset stomach, syrup of ipecac to induce vomiting if advised by the Poison Control Center, possibly a laxative, and maybe an activated charcoal, again for use if advised by the Poison Control Center. Emergency and safety items might also include these items, which would be safely stored but probably not in the same box with the first aid kit. Gas cans, ice chest or two, disposable cups, plates, eating utensils, and paper towels, black trash bags, vinyl gloves, maybe moistened cleaning towelettes. Again, having these items far in advance of an impending storm is simply the best way to avoid having to find them in an emergency and when you might be in panic mode. And by all means, take the time to contact your local American Red Cross chapter to obtain a free basic first aid manual. Clothing, bedding, and sanitation supplies are extremely important, and especially if you live in a cold climate, you've got to think about warmth because it's possible that you would not have heat. So include at least one complete change of clothing and footwear per person. A light jacket or coat, long pants, a long sleeve shirt, sturdy shoes or work boots, and of course waterproof would be preferred. Hat, gloves, and scarf, rain gear, thermal underwear, blankets or sleeping bags, and sunglasses. And on the sanitation side, don't forget the toilet paper, soap, liquid detergent, feminine supplies, personal hygiene items, plastic garbage bags with ties for personal sanitization use, plastic bucket with a tight lid, and disinfectant. Maybe even a little bit of household bleach for sanitization. Next on our list is tools, and there are a lot of tools that people don't think about needing until they need them. Mess kits or paper cups, plates, and plastic utensils. An emergency preparedness manual, there's some good ones out there. Portable battery-operated radio or television and extra batteries. Flashlights and extra batteries. Cash or traveler's checks and some change. Non-electric can opener, a utility knife. Fire extinguisher, small canister, ABC type. A tube tent. Pliers. Tape. Compass. Matches in a waterproof container. Aluminum foil. Plastic storage containers. Rabbit ears for your TV. Signal flare. Paper. Pencil. Needles. Thread. A medicine dropper. A shut-off wrench to turn off household gas and water. A whistle. An axe. Plastic sheeting. And a map of the area for locating shelters. And finally, specialty items. Remember family members with special needs such as infants and elderly or disabled persons. For baby, formula, diapers and wipes, baby food, bottles, powdered milk, pacifiers, and maybe medications. And don't forget the adults. Heart and high blood pressure medication, insulin, prescription drugs, denture needs, contact lenses and supplies, extra eyeglasses, hearing aid batteries. That's a lot of stuff to remember. And you can make this a special project, taking the important family documents and putting them together in a place where they're safe. Photocopies of credit and identification cards, maybe in a Ziploc bag, plastic container. But you want to keep these records in a waterproof, portable container. Your will and insurance policies, contracts, deeds, stocks, and bonds. Photo IDs, passports, Social Security cards, immunization records, bank account numbers, credit card account numbers and companies, inventory of valuable household goods or important telephone numbers, family records like birth and marriage and death certificates, your checkbook, cash and coins, and then of course some entertainment, games, and books that you might need while you're away. So, what's the target? The goal? The goal during a tropical event is to not need the items and procedures that we discussed in this presentation. However, being prepared is a good alternative and may make the difference between being a victim and being a survivor. On a personal note, from those who have been there, during the aftermath of Katrina, many suffered intense wind damage with trees through their roof and rain pouring through. Your prized possessions, though not as important as your very life, of course, should be taken with you. If you evacuate, and you can do so without compromising the essentials, take the things that are important with you. I want to personally thank you for taking the time to watch this video. It's our hope that you will never be in a situation where you will have to consider all the things we've discussed. But if you are, now you're prepared to be prepared and survive. For more information, go to normie.org or normieproetf.org or email us at support@normie.org. We're here to serve you. Thank you very much.